In my career before retirement, there was a time as a drug court judge and certainly as Chief Justice, and the work that we did through the all of the work that we did in those arenas. Funding was always the issue, one of the issues, a huge issue. And I kept hearing as a drug court judge and then as chief, BJA with this and BJA that. Well, I didn't know what that acronym really meant. Today we know that not only does BJA stand for the Bureau of Justice Assistance, but we brought you the man. The man is here. You all, this is Karhlton Moore, who hails from Columbus, Ohio. But he is the National Director of the Bureau for Justice Assistance, having held that position for now over a year by appointment from President Biden. And I'll tell you a little bit about him. He oversees the Bureau's operation, providing for a wide range of resources to the criminal justice system. These resources include training and technical assistance to law enforcement, to courts, to corrections, treatment, reentry, justice information sharing, and community-based partners, allowing us to address the criminal justice challenges. And so we're so fortunate that he's taken the time from busy schedule and show the commitment of BJA to this effort to be here. So we're so pleased, Karhlton, to have you. He came to BJA from the job as Executive Director of Ohio's Office of Criminal Justice Services, where he developed a stellar track record as State Administrator. So we're so pleased to have you with us today. On the program it says to paint the national picture. So we're glad to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. Welcome.
Well, good morning. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It is good to be here. There's so many good vibes in this room and people smiling and hugging each other and saying nice things about each other. It reminds me of being back in Washington, D.C. So as the chief said, I am a native Ohioan. I grew up in Ohio. Lived my entire life there other than the few years I moved to D.C. to go to law school, and then I quickly moved back to Ohio. So I have had a chance to spend some time in Kentucky. I'm a big Reds fan, and so, yeah, I hear some of you might be Cardinal fans. Don't clap. Don't clap. But it's always nice to come to Ohio, to come to Kentucky, so I can see the Ohio River, or the Cincinnati Airport. Are there other things that are supposed to be Ohio that are here in Kentucky? I don't know. But it's really, really good to be here. And I want to spend some time talking about BJA and our work, and talking about, I think, the important role that courts have played, not only in our past, but in our present, to move our nation, our communities forward, and to deal with challenges that so many people face throughout our country. Let me say one great thing about this summit, and you heard the numbers, about the number of us across the country who deal with mental health challenges. It's important. It is so important for people to understand that. For far too long, there has been shame in dealing with issues of mental illness. And it's about time that that shame went away. And summits like this go a long way in making sure that that happens. So what is BJA? BJA was created back in 1984, and we were created to do three things: to reform our criminal justice system, to create safer communities, and to reduce violent crime. And we use three tools to accomplish those three goals. One is through funding. That's one of the things that we do, that the chief referenced. Last year alone, we funded more than $2.7 billion in funding throughout the country through 59 different grant programs. This year we'll do more than another $2 billion through about 70 different grant programs. But that's just part of what we do. The other part is spreading knowledge and expertise through training and technical assistance, because it is not enough just to put funds out into the field. If you just put money out into the field, we all know what will happen. Some places who are really engaged and really advanced, they will get that funding and they will do excellent work. And some places who want to do good work but just don't know how, won't do good work. And so training and technical assistance is incredibly important. But the last thing that we do, and this is my favorite, and that is engagement. Engagement. Because we have to understand what's going on in the field all across this country. I'm sure you all already know this, but not every great answer is sitting in Washington, D.C. There are solutions going on all across this country. I was just in Omaha. Just last week, I was in Omaha, Nebraska, a city of nearly 500,000 people. 2 homicides so far this year. 2. 28 non-fatal shootings. They're doing something right there, and I wanted to know what it was. And so I had a chance to spend time in Omaha with community members and political leaders and law enforcement to really understand what they're doing to make these changes in their community. And that's also why I'm here today, is to engage with you all, to learn about the challenges that you're facing, to learn about the things you're doing right, and the ways that we can be of assistance to you. And after we do that engagement, our job is to go back to Washington, D.C., educated by the lessons that we have heard from the field, and to create resources and tools to address the challenges that you're facing. And that's the way government is supposed to work. We're supposed to be informed and make solutions to problems that real people face every single day, all across this country. And that's our responsibility. And that's exactly why we're here. And we have key members of our team here with me today. Judge Karen Friedman is here. You're going to hear from her a little bit later. Michelle White, who I think many of you already know, and Maria Fryer. And I don't know what I've done in my life. I've always been blessed with incredible, incredible people to work with, and the 3 of them are no exception to that. So thank you all so much. So that engagement that I talked about, at the end of the day, all the things that we do, the engagement, the resources, the training and technical assistance, what it's really about is really one word, and that's transformation. Transforming, whether it's people, practices, whatever the case may be, communities, transforming them once you see these problems. And I've been able to see in my career the ability of courts and judges to make transformational change. When I was working in Ohio, and I was the head of the state administrative agency there for 17 years, I had a good friend, Judge Paul Herbert. And Judge Herbert, who is one of the most gracious people you'll ever meet, one day he was sitting in court. He's a municipal court judge, and he always introduces himself as, I am the lowest ranking judge in the state of Ohio. But one day he was sitting in court, and he said, I don't know what it was about that, but I'm sitting in court, and there's this bench that they have where a lot of cases, and municipal court is a misdemeanor court in Ohio, and there was a woman sitting on that bench, and she was there. She had been processed for prostitution. And she's sitting on this bench, right? And he said he had watched lots and lots of women sit on that bench before. But for whatever reason, that day when he looked over there, he saw a victim. For whatever reason, just something was different about that day. For the first time, he saw a victim. And he went on to create the Catch Court. And the Catch Court is focused on reducing the impact of human trafficking in Franklin County. And it inspired us in so many different ways that I had the opportunity to create a state anti-human trafficking coordinator. But that was through the vision and commitment and the ability to transform community through the eyes of a judge. You know, in Ohio, we dealt with serious issues around opiates, and I know in Kentucky you've dealt with those issues as well. And so we decided that we would bring together the best practices that we knew of from all aspects of the criminal justice system and put them to bear in one community. The leader in that community was a judge. It was the judge. It was the judge who invited us in. It was the judge who led the way. It was the judge who helped first slow down opiate overdose deaths and then ultimately reduce them. That was the work of courts and judges. And I could go on and on. I won't, but I could. About the work that judges have done to transform communities. But I do want to say I am excited to be here today to participate in this summit that focuses on such important issues impacting so many justice-involved people across our country. The number of justice-involved people with mental health, co-occurring substance use disorders is staggering. This impacts those with behavioral health issues, their families, and their communities. It also profoundly impacts every aspect of the justice system and the people who work within it. At BJA, we are working to support national, state, and local initiatives as they work to improve justice responses. We recently met with leadership of the conferences of Chief Justices and state court administrators to discuss the recommendations of the National Judicial Task Force to examine state courts' response to mental illness. We will continue these conversations, and I look forward to supporting implementation of the recommendations. Likewise, I, along with others from BJA, as I mentioned, are here today. I'd like to share some highlights of the programs we have at BJA, because I know I said we have a lot of money, but we don't just have like an application that says money. So let me share the names of a few of these programs. The Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Program, and this is one that I think is really apropos to the work that you all are doing here. It has been a vehicle for advancing collaborations between the courts and mental health partners. This is not just mental health courts, but prosecutor-led initiatives, diversion programs, strategies to reduce backlogs, to state hospital for competencies to stand trial, sequential intercept mapping. I think someone said that word earlier. It can be hard to say, I think, at times. And as we've done periodically this summer, we will be bringing together a diverse range of judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, court administrators, mental health professionals, community partners, and people with lived experience. And I got to tell you, I am so pleased that our criminal justice system recognizes the importance of people with lived experience and the way they can enhance our response. And it is so great to be in a point in our nation's history where we can learn so much from people who have experienced our criminal justice system. We will also hear from past JMHCP grantees and those who have never applied for a federal grant. Anyone here never applied for a federal grant before? So there's one dude in here who's never applied. I mean, well, let me tell you this about applying for a federal grant. I am trying to simplify the process because it's a challenging process. And I know other people have applied because they're over there shaking their heads like, yes, it is rough. But I also want you to know a lot of people self-select themselves out of the grant process because they think that there's no way that they're going to get a grant. And as a result of that, there are many times where we don't put out all the resources that we have So if you are thinking about applying for a grant from BJA, I would urge you to apply for that. We'll also be talking about competency to stand trial, which I know is an issue that your commission is taking on. Recognizing a national crisis, we have been working with our federal partners at SAMHSA and the Interdepartmental Serious Mental Illness Coordinating Committee, as well as our TTA provider, the Council of State Governments Justice Center, to understand what is happening in the states and locally, and to identify emergent best practices and practical strategies. You know, I got a lot of stuff here that I want to get through. One of the grants I do want to mention is our adult treatment courts. Anyone here involved in treatment courts? Okay, see, more hands. This guy's hand didn't go up, but I see a lot of other hands go up. We have all types of resources for treatment courts, and I would urge you to apply for those. For those who've been involved in treatment courts, what's graduation day like for you? Isn't it? It's the best. It is the best. You want to talk about transformation? Watch people when they start and watch them when they're done. And you watch what it does for them and their families and their friends. And if you believe, as I believe, that we are all born with unique and special gifts that we are given in order to share with the rest of the world, then you know that treatment courts unleash those gifts for the world, for people who have not had a chance to share them. The other thing about treatment courts is, what does it do for us? What does it do for us when we see people graduate? Doesn't it renew you? Doesn't it reinvigorate you? Doesn't it make you realize it's all worth it? This is amazing work that we're doing, and it's amazing work that you're doing, and I'm so glad that we have a chance to do it together. So let me just close with this. You know, we have seen courts and judges transform our communities. I saw a judge in Buffalo who saw too many veterans coming back, getting involved in our justice system. And he created a court that now has spread all across the country. I've been to Miami to see Judge Leifman and to see the way he has transformed the criminal justice system in that community and all across Florida. And I know you'll have a chance to hear from Judge Leifman later on today. I think it's the same time as my other panel, so I don't know why you guys did that to me, but it's you'll enjoy listening to Judge Leifman. But courts have been doing this from the very beginning of our nation, from Marbury to Brown, to Miranda to Loving, to Gideon versus Wainwright. Courts, when others were unwilling, unable, or just didn't want to, have stepped up to the plate to move our nation forward, sometimes one community at a time. You know, my time in Ohio, my time at BJA, I have learned an awful lot of lessons. But there is one lesson that stands above them all. We work best when we work together. So let us pledge to work together, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you very much.